Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome to another video on Politics World. Aside from discussing political issues, I like to discuss inspirational stories from concepts I have taken from the Bible. One of those inspirational stories comes in the form of a short story I wrote called The Saving Hand of God. I would like to share that story with you now and then hear your comments about it in the comment section. The Saving Hand of God. Almost all of us at one point in our lives have felt uncertain about our next big step in life. Whether it may be in our career, making the decision to go back to school, or perhaps even to get married. We feel uncertain about our initial decision to want to make our lives better. However, though we may not want to admit it to ourselves, the reason for this feeling of uncertainty is a nagging tinge of anxiety that seems to subtly infest our consciousness. This anxiety is born out of uncertainty. Anxiety is certainly a debilitating predicament. It hinders our ability to reason properly, to face our problems with clarity, and to realize our full potential. But anxiety is merely a symptom of a much more elusive issue, the problem of uncertainty. Uncertainty is perhaps the most complex and ambiguous of human emotions, in part because there are so many underlying factors that lead to its manifestation, particularly those factors which are born out of fear and doubt. These two emotions, though, are normal. Naturally, it can be scary to embark on a new endeavor without knowing what lies ahead. But it is not an end all state of affairs, this feeling of anxiety. It can be conquered. The feeling of uncertainty is probably most prevalent in our professional and personal lives as individuals. Maybe you are someone who is starting a new job, or just a season away from landing that new job promotion. Whatever case your situation may be, the important thing to remember is that though the road to success can sometimes be winding and rough, the destination is assured. A better life for you and your family, made manifest through the blessing of your God given talents and dedication to perseverance, is achievable. Maybe you are a person who is looking to get married to that special someone you know is meant for you. But you are not sure how to approach that person with such a proposition, and are not even sure if they feel the same way you do about them. In such a case, be bold in your conviction. People, after all, are like doors. If you don't knock, they won't open. After all, marriage is a very special thing. Having the honor of sharing all your love, life, wisdom, and experience with someone special to you is a blessing not to be taken for granted. Remembering that has been said before, perfect love casteth out fear. Maybe you're a person looking to go back to school after a long absence and are apprehensive about your financial future. This example is one that I could speak to on a personal level. I am currently working as a professor of political science. I have always had great fondness for learning about the mechanics of government, but I was not exactly sure how to proceed with such a career goal. I was scared to proceed, not knowing exactly what lied ahead. And in my professional career, what remains lying ahead of me. Until one day I read a story about the Apostle Peter in the book of Matthew, chapter 14, verses 26 through 32. It tells of the time that the apostles were traveling at night on a boat to meet Jesus the next morning. As it happens, The winds that night were exceptionally strong and violent, and looking out into the vast darkness of the ocean, the disciples suddenly saw a figure walking on water in the distance. Initially, at this sight, the disciples were terrified, thinking the figure they saw was some kind of spirit. Immediately, however, Jesus spoke out and said, "Be of good cheer, it is I." Then the apostle Peter spoke back and said, "Lord, if it if it is you, help me come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." What occurs next in the story should speak to all of us concerning the issue of anxiety and uncertainty about the future and the assured saving hand of God. For as Peter walked on the water toward Jesus, he began to notice just how violent the wind around him was. He became afraid and began to sink. In the next instant, Peter cried out to Jesus, saying, "O Lord, save me." Jesus immediately stretched out his hand and caught Peter, telling him, "O thou of little faith, why did you doubt me?" What Jesus said, and more importantly, how he said it, is significant here because he not only points out how little faith we have when we become uncertain about the future, but he goes on to ask, at what point in our endeavor did we begin to doubt God and his control over our future? As I mentioned earlier, doubt and fear are perfectly normal emotions, but we should not become constrained by them, whether in work, marriage, or school. If we are willing to take a leap of faith with God, though the winds of prosperity and growth may sometimes become boisterous, he will always be ready to catch, guide, and save us should we get into uncertain waters. I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope to produce more in the future. I would like to know your thoughts on these concepts in the Bible. Is there a point in your life where you experienced the saving hand of God? Can you share any moments where you were uncertain about the next step you were going to take in life? And maybe you got into some rough water like Peter, but God ultimately stretched out his hand to save you. I would like to know your thoughts, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.